It is Thursday, December 9th, 2021. And I recently watched on Netflix the docuseries coming out, Colton. It's Colton Underwood, who was The Bachelor at one point. He was on The Bachelorette, and then he was The Bachelor. Um, and he sort of got engaged to some woman at the end of his season, and then that fell apart. And then he kind of stalked her and harassed her, and it was kind of ugly. Um, and he explains very clearly about um, that was his last attempt. He knew that if he didn't make that relationship work, he would have to deal with the fact that he was gay, and he desperately wanted to do anything other than that. At one point, tried to take his own life, and it's not an excuse for his behavior. But all the gays are mad that you're taking a coming out story and not monetizing it, and who are you to do that? And the Bachelor people are all mad because he harassed Cassie, and so he's evil. And in this world where no one is allowed any kind of redemption whatsoever, if you've ever done one bad thing, that's the only thing you're going to be judged for, and you have to be ostracized because you did a bad thing once. And this is a clear instance where somebody has taken accountability, done the work to say, this is where all that came from. He couldn't be more sorry. He wishes none of it happened. He, like how you can't spend the rest of your life apologizing. He can't undo what was done. But he's, in this effort, trying to make the world a better place so the next guy doesn't do the same thing. And it's really a wonderful docuseries, taking you through what it's like to sort of be a kid growing up gay and torturing yourself based on all of the information that is, provided to you from the outside world, whether it's overt homophobia or, what's the kind when it's people don't mean it but it happens anyway. So he goes through the whole thing about and then what it's like to come out as an adult and have to like make the proclamation and do the whole thing, and it's a wonderful series, and he has a lot of people that sort of help guide him through that, but he does the work of confronting his coaches, and saying that the language that was used and what that did to him and how that made him feel, and how that's not shouldn't be acceptable, and that they're part of the problem. Confronting his church, he's very religious, and what that detriment does, and highlights how there are people in your life that can be very significant, but ultimately are very harmful. And how do you navigate that? How do you forgive that? How do you, make sure that you, preserve yourself enough and your own self-worth and self-dignity to not perpetuate those relationships? It's really, I think, a wonderful expression of what all of that feels like, and how complicit people are, often unknowingly. So I say, kudos to you, Colton Underwood. That was, and Gus Kenworthy, who, who sort of becomes his mentor for coming out. And, we all need those people that are like to help, deprogram all of the internalized homophobia. You could be the most like out and proud gay and still have lingering internalized homophobia, because it's so ingrained in how we're taught to be as human beings, that it's bad, that we are dirty, that we are sinful, that all that whole bullshit, and trying to unwind that is a difficult process. So it does, it does take having people in your life to sort of help shepherd you and take the sting out of it, to make you feel more comfortable and normalized about all of these thoughts and feelings that you have been afraid of and hating yourself for. So coming out, Colton, woo, good job. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Jussie Smollett was convicted today of 5 of 6 counts. He, what an idiot. He paid a couple of guys to stage this attack on him and then claimed homophobia and racism, or a homophobic and racist attack. But the guys he hired turned him in, and he got caught. And I just don't understand what the fuck was he thinking he was going to get out of that. He had a great career going. He had a lot of respect and admiration from a lot of people, significant people in the industry, and he just threw that away and just threw his whole life away, and made it so much harder for people who are actual victims of homophobic attacks and racist attacks to be believed. And we already have a giant problem in this country with trans women, specifically trans women of color, being abused and murdered and dying in police custody, and no one getting any kind of justice for what's happening to them. So, and he's just compounded that whole problem about the making the police skeptical of these kinds of claims. And so, I just, a giant fuck you, Jussie Smollett, for taking everything giant steps backwards, and with little to no visible gain, even if you had gotten away with it. There are enough actual attacks, racist and homophobic attacks. You could have reached out to people that were that had been attacked, that have gone through these horrific instances, have gone through the justice system, and whether they got help or not, and had conversations, created a documentary series, which we love. Specifically, we love the true crime documentaries. By the way, when the hell is the final episode of Murder on Middle Beach coming out on HBO Max? I want to know who killed that guy's mom. Anyway, so yeah, he could have done something really productive around that whole arena, and instead he ruined his life and fucked things up for a huge section of the population who actually need help. So, yay, Colton. Fuck you, Jussie.